Hi everyone, Kirk here with the BMW Motorrad Club of Northern Illinois. Today's video is being brought to you by not only patreon.com/KirkJohnson and the great people that are supporting me there, but a lot of the funding has been coming from the sales of this poster that I made. If you'd like to get one of these, it's of the commonly used torque values on a LT. Look down in the description. I'll provide a link down there on how you can get one of these, and it is really goes a very long way to help me out here and get some new equipment so that I can continue to bring you guys better looking videos. What this video is today, I would like to create a buyer's guide for an LT. So a lot of you guys, you're out looking at LTs. I've seen enough of these now and have worked on enough of them now. I feel like I can make a buyer's guide on things that you should be looking for on your LT or your potential LT, warning signs, so on and so forth. So let's get started. Now, first thing you're going to do, of course, is your initial impression is going to be very important. How nice is the bike that you're looking at? Has it been well cared for? This example that's sitting on the lift here is just an immaculate bike. It's got about 65,000 miles on it. I'm really impressed. Whoever owned this bike prior or the owner himself is taking amazing care of this motorcycle. Beautiful to see. Awesome color. I love this color. This is probably my personal favorite color. You guys know that I have a gray one at the time of making this video. But if I ever got another LT, I think I would get this one right here because it's so pretty. Anyway, you want to take a good look over the entire motorcycle at the overall condition. Really go over the paint. Take a good look. Look for signs of damage. Not so much like little, scratches or, little road rash. Not road rash, but like paint chips and stuff that you would get as just a matter of driving down the highway. But you really want to look over this thing. Look at these air wings. How yellow are they? And the only reason you're going to be looking at all of this stuff is because it might cost you more money down the road if you want to improve the appearance or the performance of your motorcycle. Now, one of those spots that you could see some damage on is these tip over wings. A lot of times guys will lose it at a gas station. They're heavy bikes. I've talked about that before, where they're pretty heavy when it comes to the amount of being able to tip over, and they slip out from at a moment's notice. This one is pristine. There is no scratches whatsoever on here. I'll intersperse in this video some examples of scratched up ones that are really faded out, and you'll see some of that going on right now. So the areas that you want to look underneath here, and of course right here on the surface, if this appears to be tipped up, and I'll put in a video in the video right now a little bit of one that is tipped up. What it means is the thing fell over pretty hard and bent this thing up. And if you want to straighten it out, sometimes you can straighten out the hoop that's inside of here. Other times you may have to replace some parts, or the carriage that holds the whole thing together may have bent itself. If that's the case, now you got to really look at the whole picture here. Now, down here on this ridge, sometimes on motorcycles, this area here is all black. And if that's the case, that's not a big deal. That just means that somebody was riding it really hard. This one, it's pristine. Also, right underneath here, this is an area that can get scrubbed out pretty hard if it gets down really low. Sometimes, if it tips over, or sometimes the road will get down low enough that it will actually scrub. Now you see these footboards that are on here. I personally do not like these footboards at all. I know some of you guys out there like to ride this thing like it's a cruiser. a cruiser. It's not a cruiser. It's really just a large sport bike. And if you are wearing these things on your bike, just know that these can cause an accident if you have to get down pretty low. You know, you get into a sharp turn situation, something sneaks up on you, despite your going very slow on the road, you might scrape these, and these do not move. They just don't give. There's no, in fact, on this one here, you can't see it in the video, but I can feel it. This bottom edge here is all scraped. And that not only can startle you pretty bad, but it will also, it could potentially, if you lean it over hard enough, it'll lift up the rear tire and you'll lose traction, and you'll cause a lot more damage than these things are ever worth. So consider putting the originals back on, or get a mechanism that will allow these to sweep out of the way. This one, I don't think it could go anywhere even if it could, because it's so big. And not only that, it causes your brake to be in a bad position. It causes your brake to be too high. Your transition time, your foot transition time from here to here will slow down your braking response on your rear brake. So really want to encourage you guys to ride the bike the way it was designed, which with the original foot pegs. So, or maybe you have to get those other ones, those ones made by Suburban Machinery, the ones that are a little bit lower, but they actually will kick out of the way. Plus signs here. These passenger footrests are really the best ones that there are. I know the guy that makes these also makes some that fit on here. If you can find these are the BMW parts, and they are just outstanding when it comes to large passenger footrests. They're fully adjustable. You can pull these things out. Well, this one's kind of locked up right now, but you can usually, you can kind of rotate this and drop it down or lift it up, and change the angle on here. These are nice. That would be a plus for me purchasing a motorcycle for sure. So now, one of the problems that the LTs have had, and most of you guys that have been researching LTs or have been on the forums for any length of time, you know that the final drives have issues. They can have issues. I personally, my LT, which is a 2000, I've got now 100,000 miles on the original final drive and have had no issues at all with it. That being said, I probably have just cursed myself and it'll go out tomorrow. But until that happens, I'm going to just keep using it until it does blow, until I have a leak or something. So the areas that you want to look here, one, you want to look down here to see, is there a lot of oil or lube. There's really none. This is just brake dust that's on my fingers here. So down here you'll spring a leak in the seal, the main seal part on the back. Also up in here, this might be leaking a little bit of oil right up in here, or lube. If it is, depending on where that's coming from, that's really not that big of a deal unless it's a very serious leak. And you're going to see that in any inspection. You're going to be able to notice that, whatever amount is coming out of there. Now down here on the brakes, you definitely want to take a good look at your brakes, because it's just, you're going to have to replace them at some point, but you don't want to replace them as soon as you buy the motorcycle. So if you can, get a flashlight, take a look at your brakes to see what kind of condition the pads are in, same as the front brakes. Take a look at, has the rotor been replaced? If this one has been replaced, this is the updated rotor, and because it's got the holes in it, it doesn't have that clanging noise. They call it the cowbell. Doesn't have that going on, so shake that back and forth, see if it's clanking and making noise. This motorcycle has the original brake lines on it. Now this one, the reason it's sitting on my lift here is that's one of the jobs that I'm going to do. I really strongly encourage anyone that has an LT, I don't care if it's a 99 to a 2009, change the brake lines. Put a set of Spieglers on it, put a set of, I don't care what, other than the original OEM rubber ones, but put something else on it. These are going to go. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. They were only good for about 6 years, and then the rubber gets crapped up and they blow. So please check them out and change them. Down here, okay, so that's an added expense on this buyer's guide. That's going to definitely cost you some money, depending on if you do the work yourself or you have somebody else do it. That's going to be an added expense. Take a look at the condition of the tires. Look at the date code on the tires. Okay, the tires might actually look really good, but the date code on the tire, you can't even see it here. I don't have any light on this one right now. I know this one's 2014, but the tire is completely worn out. It's worn out, bald. It's in here for tires too. So if the date code is older than 6 years from the time that when you're standing there looking at it and you date it back, if it's 6 years or more, you're going to need to put tires on the motorcycle, even if they look like brand new. So that's going to be an added expense, and maybe one that you're not expecting. On the side cases here, these right here will get scratched up pretty bad if the bike tips over. These tip over guards, they just don't survive well unless they fall over on a nice carpet or maybe in some grass. That's the only chance that they're going to have of not getting scratched up. These, which I've already mentioned, are just in amazing condition. Okay, when you're taking a look down underneath, look for oil leaks. There's going to be some that comes from when whoever drains out the transmission. There might be some leftover residual oil or lube on the center stand. That's not really a major concern, but you want to really look above there and see, is there any oil leaks on this side of it, and get up in here and look around for some gross amount of oil. You want to shine up here take a look between the transmission and the housing and see, is it all wet down there. I will intersperse in this video again some examples. An example I had in the shop of one that was that had a really serious leak, and it was a real mess. Look at if it has the electronic center stand, take a look at that. Just see, is it all crapped up with oil. Now back here, you can see there's a lot of soot. It depends on your altitude and what kind of mileage you're getting. If you're getting a lot of soot like this, and the guy is saying, oh, the bike only gets, maybe 30 miles to the gallon, well, that's going to be an indication that you're going to need to put a O2 sensor in. Not all of them that have a lot of soot here, though. You might still be seeing, this customer, whoever, might still be seeing 50 miles to the gallon. And if that's the case, then that soot is just fine. Just clean it off every now and then. Coming over here on this side of the motorcycle, look at the brakes. Get a flashlight. Check out the brakes. Check the conditions of the rotors. Just feel them. Make sure that they've never been taken down to the point that it was metal on metal. If you see scratches on your rims or on the rims, that's not really too bad. I mean, sometimes scratches happen when they change out the tires. But again, we've got the brake lines that need to be changed. So now up in here, take a look at the end of, this is the steering damper. The steering damper sometimes will be very wet looking here. Could be that the seals are going bad. Sometimes it just needs to be serviced and filled. If you decide to change out one of these, they can be pretty expensive. Even used ones are quite a bit of money. Take a look at the condition of the shock up in there and make sure the shock is not leaking. You may not like the springs. As these motorcycles, as they get a little bit older, this one's got 60,000 miles. I can tell just from experience of riding these motorcycles that at 60,000 miles, those springs are done. And they need to be replaced with something, either if it's just the spring itself, or you might opt to go with a more expensive full custom set for yourself. You won't regret that decision. It really makes a huge difference. Take a look at the radiators. How damaged up are they? Are they crapped up with stuff that's going to, you know, cause a overheat issue? Mostly damage is what you want to look for. That and possibly corrosion. When you're really inspecting the undercarriage of the motorcycle, you want to look for rust. Has the motorcycle ever been run in salty conditions, you know, in the winter? If it has, that's not really a good thing. You're going to wind up having issues at some other point if that's the case. So it might be kind of a turn-off if you start seeing a lot of rust. You know, you try to take bolts out and they'll snap off. It's really just a pain. Especially ones like here, down here. Salt will go up inside here and rust this metal. It'll galvanize to the aluminum, and those things are just such a pain to get off. Looking at the headlight, does it have a xenon or an HID headlight? If it does, that's a really good sign. And these later models, like this is a 2007, and you can see up here in the corner it says xenon. So this is already a factory installed HID kit. Wonderful lighting, just great. If not, if it's an older model like I have, those did not come with HID. They just came with a regular halogen H7 bulb, and those things are the worst of the worst of the worst when it comes to lighting. You really can't even see at all at night. I don't know why they ever said that that was good. You want to come down here, and on these, this is a 2007, so it doesn't have any issues with the fender separating. But on like my model, I'll show a little example in the video here of what it looks like when they start to separate. They would separate right up here. All right, coming up to the top part of the motorcycle again. Take a good look at over condition. Now, the older these things get, the more worn out they're going to look. Some of them will have a screen right here, and that screen can be really cloudy, like you can't see the numbers anymore. That can get cleaned up pretty easily with some rubbing alcohol on a rag. It might come with some kind of electronics. This one has the BMW navigation system on it. A great add-on. If you don't have that, really nice to have. Turn it on and go through all of the buttons and just make sure that you know what you're buying. Make sure that everything works. Check the turn signals, honk the horn, raise the windshield up and down. Check inside the box here. Make sure your radio works. This one actually has a replaced stereo in it. This one has a Kenwood stereo in it. Very nice looking install, whoever did it. Roll this over. Check it out, make sure it feels right. If you get an opportunity to take it out for a ride, do it. It really gives you a good indicator as to if there's anything wrong with it. Just open up everything, check it all out. This particular motorcycle also has these very nicely installed armrests for the passenger. Might be something that's important to you if you're going to take your wife or girlfriend or your kids or anything. So the way you get this open is you have to open up this side case on the left side of the bike, and right up in the front there's a pull handle. Pull that and it will release the seat. You'll be able to open that up. So take a look, make sure that everything looks decent down here. Just give it a good eyeballing. This thing here, most motorcycles, most LTs, this thing is usually flat when you roll this out, and you'll be able to, you can start rolling it out, and eventually you'll get to a point where it's just freewheeling. Ask about the battery. How old is this battery? You want to have a battery that's under 3 years old. Would be a good battery. I mean, if it's somewhere between 3 and 6 years old, you're going to probably be into a battery within the next year or so. So another thing that would be really, really nice to know is what are the service records on this motorcycle that you're considering. Do you have a way to get those from the dealer? Does the previous owner have any kind of indication as to what's been done, what kind of mileage services have been done? And it's really just so that you have an idea of your start point. You know, do you need to take care of some things right away other than the brake lines perhaps? Does it need to have the valves checked? Does it need an oil change? Does it need the final drive or the transmission lube changed out? Have the forks ever been serviced, or do they need seals? Those are all things that you're going to need to kind of know going into it, just so that you can get started off on the right foot and really just enjoy your LT for all it's worth right from the get-go. So thank you so much for checking out this video. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up down there, or maybe comment down below on some things on your motorcycle. Things that you wish you would have looked for. This is like a big community project, so if you'd like one of those posters that I showed you in the very beginning of the video, again, it's down below. Just click on that link. It'll take you right to it. Very low cost, and it really does go a long way to help me in creating these videos for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.